Have you ever made a mistake so bad that you wanted to go back in time and prevent it from happening? Well, for me, that's all the time. Or, don't you wish you could just jump in time to the future for an exciting change of scenery? Maybe finally get your hands on some Cyberpunk 2077? All of these things would easily be possible if we all had access to a time machine. But since we don't have that, we gotta stick to the present and make the best out of it. However, there is some clear evidence that time traveling might be possible after all. If anything, we just haven't been lucky enough to experience it. In today's video, I'll be showing you 10 proofs that a time machine exists. With all that said and done, let's begin, shall we? Number 10. The Tiny Watch. The Empire of the Great Ming, also known as the Ming Dynasty, was the dynasty that ruled China between 1368 to 1644. We're talking about people who existed more than 500 years ago. That's why it was shocking to find a miniature Swiss watch in one of their graves a few years ago during an archaeological expedition. This little golden piece was frozen at the time of 1006, and the word Swiss was engraved on it. The discovery did raise a lot of questions. First of all, watches weren't common prior to 1780. Second of all, Switzerland did not exist as a country during the time that the Ming Dynasty ruled, so how come the word Swiss was on that watch? The archaeologists were convinced that no one had accessed this grave over the last 400 years. And yet somehow the person inside the coffin had some sort of encounter with someone from the future. I mean, it sounds hard to believe, but it's the only explanation that really makes sense. I know a lot of people think it's a hoax, but this would be a very intricate one. Who would go as far as digging someone's grave just to put a 100-year-old miniature watch in it? Well, I mean, I would just for the giggles, but I'm sure it was time traveling. Number 9. Chronovisor. Pellegrino Ernetti was an Italian priest and scientist who lived from 1925 to 1994. There are at least 2 books about a very important device that he created, the Chronovisor. This was something that they call a time viewer because it allowed Father Ernetti to witness some historical events. According to some people's accounts, Ernetti built this device with a lot of buttons, levers, and controls that allow you to check for a specific time and location. Thanks to this device, Ernetti was able to witness important historical events, such as the crucifixion and some sort of performance in ancient Rome. In fact, it's said that this picture of the crucifixion was published in an Italian weekly news magazine. Unfortunately, no one knows where this chronovisor is at, but many people speculate that such a device is in the hands of the Vatican, and it's being used at their convenience. One thing is for sure, Father Pellegrino Ernetti did exist, and there are at least 2 people who swear that this man invented a device that allows us to somehow be able to travel in time. Number 8. Moberly and Jourdaine. What would happen if you travel in time and then you share your story with the world? Well, I'm sure a lot of people would think you're either crazy, or perhaps they'd say that you're having a supernatural experience, or they just call you a straight-up liar. This is what happened to Charlotte Ann Moberly and Eleanor Jourdaine as they were traveling in France in 1901. Suddenly, the couple of academics found themselves on a farm with people wearing outdated clothes. They also saw a guy who had smallpox, and they even got to interact with a woman who they claimed was Marie Antoinette, a historical character that had been dead for more than 100 years. Of course, when Moberly and Jourdaine told the story, some people thought that these 2 had lost their minds. Others claimed that they were probably seeing ghosts. But both Moberly and Jourdaine were very shocked by the experience. The people who didn't make fun of them couldn't find a better explanation other than admitting that these 2 had probably traveled back in time. Number 7. The Hipster Time Traveler. You can always tell hipsters apart by the way they dress. They break society's standards and they pretty much live according to their own rules. Now you wouldn't get it, it's pretty underground. However, there is a picture that was taken in Canada back in 1941 where you can spot a guy wearing clothes that are absolutely different from everyone else in the picture. What's shocking about it is that his clothes pretty much look like the ones we wear today. And I know there's always at least one person who doesn't conform to society's rules, but still. The graphic shirt, the sweater, the sunglasses, they don't look like anything from 1941. There are many people who say that everything that the man is wearing could easily have been found at a clothing store in the 1940s. However, you can see this guy could easily be from our time, and that's why some people consider him a time traveler. Number 6. John Titor. The next story sounds like something out of a sci-fi movie, but thanks to the internet, the things that we see in movies are now very close to reality. Back in the far-off year of 2000, a user going by the name TimeTravel_0 logged onto the online forum of the Time Travel Institute, which is now known as Curious Cosmos, and shared the story of how he had traveled back from the 2030s to get a computer from 1975, and then decided to stop in the year 2000 to take a break and share a bit of his knowledge. Apparently, computers from the late 2030s are gonna need some debugging, and this soldier was brave enough to travel in time and get the resources needed to fix the problem. Is John Titor real? I'm not sure. Pretty much anyone can log online and say whatever. We do it in the comment section every day, but the problems that John Titor talked about are very likely to happen. In fact, during the transition from 1999 to 2000, there was a popular date bug that affected computers. It was known as the Y2K problem, and I wouldn't be surprised if something like this happens again in the future. Or we just kind of build it up to be a bigger problem than it actually is. Number 5. Robert Victor Goddard. Sir Robert Victor Goddard became famous for a lot of crazy things, but one of the most interesting events that he experienced happened while he was a pilot for the Royal Air Force in the United Kingdom. In 1935, while Goddard was traveling from Scotland to England, he flew over an abandoned airfield. He didn't think much of it until later in the day when he was traveling back home. He passed the same airfield, but this time the place was packed with people dressed in blue uniforms and lots of planes painted in yellow. Also, the day had been stormy, but when Goddard saw the airfield, the weather got better. However, he didn't have the chance to land as the weather got bad again, and he had to fight to keep his plane flying. He made it home, and 40 years later, he wrote a book about his weird experience. But do you know what else is weird? 4 years after this incident, the airfield was brought back to life, and the Royal Air Force Academy gave blue uniforms to their people and started painting their planes yellow. And at this point, Goddard hadn't talked about his incident yet. Is it a coincidence? I think Goddard actually had a taste of the future during his weird flight. Number 4. Project Pegasus. You've heard about astronauts, but have you heard about chrononauts? Yep, it's a thing, and it's a name that we give to people who are able to use teleportation to move through time and space. The term gained attention in 2011 when William Stillings and Andrew D. Basiago said that they had been chrononauts as part of Project Pegasus, a program that was developed in the 1970s. In the 1980s, these two were part of a class that was training them to go to Mars, when they were finally chosen to go on the mission. And how did they get there? Well, they used teleportation, but that's not all. They say that Barack Obama was part of this when he was only 19 years old. They were able to see the red planet by using something that they called the jump room. But the former president says that he hasn't been to Mars. Yet. If Project Pegasus is real, then not only can we travel in time, but we can also travel to places that we thought we would never see. Number 3. Anne Hathaway and her husband. Anne Hathaway is one of the most famous actresses in the world. Many people admire her looks, her kind personality, and her innate talent. She's an Oscar winner and also a time traveler. And not just that, her husband is also apparently a time traveler as well. A few years ago, a lot of people started to notice that Anne's husband, Adam Shulam, looks a lot like William Shakespeare. Yes, the famous playwright, actor, and poet from England. And if that wasn't enough, Shakespeare's wife was named Anne Hathaway. It's honestly just too much of a coincidence to let all that pass. A lot of internet users claim that Adam Schulman is indeed William Shakespeare himself, and some users go as far as to claim that Shakespeare made a deal with his wife in which they both get to be famous in 2 different timelines. But people also claim that William Shakespeare left his wife in order to become famous. Now he's back in this lifetime to make up for the things he did wrong. Kind of a messed up series of timelines, but hey, if time travel is real, then this story totally makes sense. Now it's time for today's best pick. The picture I chose for today shows us a bizarre experience that a security guard caught on a CCTV camera. Let's find out what it's about with number 2. The CCTV evidence. This CCTV video came to surface thanks to the people at Apex TV, who are always after paranormal investigations. But this time what they got was not necessarily considered paranormal, but it might have a scientific explanation. The video shows a man wearing a black hoodie who's searching for something on the ground right in front of a CCTV camera. Moments later, there's a flash coming out of the ground that blinds the cameras with the light. After repetitive flashes, the man finally vanishes from our sight, which led a lot of people to believe that this man teleported to another dimension or at least to another space. While there are many people who claim that the video was edited or a major fraud, there are still others who like to believe this is the ultimate proof of time travel. Before we move on, do me a favor. My analytics show that only about 15% of you watching are actually subscribed. Come on guys, what's up with that? Can you guys please hit the subscribe button? You guys watch my videos every day anyway, so you might as well subscribe and keep up to date with every video we put out. Number 1. Nicolas Cage. Love him or hate him, you gotta admit this guy is one of the most outstanding actors of our time. You've seen him in so many movies, and, well, there's a rumor going around saying that he might be some sort of vampire or a time traveler. There are tons of photos online that were taken a long time ago, way before Nicolas Cage was born, and still we can see the actor in them. How is that possible? The rumors have spread around to the point that Nicolas Cage had to address them during his visit to the late night show with David Letterman. Nick said he's not a vampire or a time traveler, but these photos tell us otherwise. Well, I hope you had fun watching this video. I know some of you still don't believe that a time machine might exist somewhere out there, but hey, everything is possible, and who knows? We might have access to this machine sometime in the near future. What are your thoughts? Let us know in the comment section down below. With all that said and done, thank you all for watching our video, and I'll see you all next time. Later, everybody.